Hello, it's Laura here and welcome to another video, this time on the risk management cycle. This is a key model for the level 5 risk modules, but it also falls through level 4. You'll see that these are the main stages of the risk management cycle. We have identify, assess, strategies, accountability, implement, sometimes referred to as influencers, and monitor. In this video, what I will be doing is going through each and every stage of this model and giving you a little bit more detail. However, a good way to remember this is to take the first letter out of each section and create a little saying. I know this might sound crazy, but thousands of buyers that I've taught have used this and it does really work. So let's take the I from identify. Igloos, A for assess, R, silly, and ice melts. So the way to remember this is igloos are silly and ice melts. It'll help you in that exam if you have a mind block. So the point of the risk management cycle is to know the stages that we need to go through in order to manage our risks. And to understand that it is a cycle, it's an ongoing process. Just because you've managed one risk does not mean that the risk will not rise up in a secondary way or new risks may appear on the horizon. So it's a constant cycle to be able to be proactive. The first stage in the cycle is to identify our key risks. So for our organisation, we're going to identify these key risks. That could be supplier lead times, it could be supplier failure, it could be quality issues, it could be the fact that we're ordering just from one supplier who's international, which creates a lot of issues for us. And once we've identified them, the next stage is to assess risks. And we assess these risks in terms of probability and impact. Another word for probability is likelihood, how likely something is to happen. And then, obviously, what is the impact? So what is the end result of this risk occurring? The risks that are high probability and high impact are the ones that we need to prioritise. The next stage is to formulate strategies. And with regard to formulating strategies to deal with these risks, obviously we've prioritised the high level risks, we're going to use the 4 T's. These are to treat the risk, tolerate the risk, transfer the risk through insurance or to a supplier, and terminate. So these high level risks we want to terminate if we can, but it's not always possible. So we may have to treat the risk. An example of treating the risk of supplier failure is to ensure that we have a backup supplier. Once we've decided on a strategy, we then have to allocate accountabilities. And this one's so key because we can all have the tendency to say, well, not my job, computer says no, I'm not going to bother to do it. So if you create risk owners, these are the people who are accountable for these risks, then it creates that level of accountability and ownership from the people, which will mean that something will get done. And hopefully if that risk does occur, it doesn't happen, the impact isn't necessarily as strong as it would have been. And people aren't just running around like headless chickens. So the next stage is to implement these strategies, sometimes referred to as influencers on the outcome. So we're going to implement the strategy, whatever it may be, whether that's to treat, whether it's to terminate the risk, perhaps one of the risks we want to transfer to the supplier. So if we get sued from a customer, we want to transfer that risk in an indemnity clause or something along those lines. The whole purpose of this stage is to implement the strategies and reduce the level of risk. That is what our organisation needs us to do. And the final quadrant is to monitor and review. As I said, the risk management cycle is something that is ongoing. So we have to monitor that risk and make sure that the level is reducing and review how well our strategies worked. If not, then we may have to start the whole process again. That's the point of it being a cycle. It isn't a one and done. And the reason we engage in this analysis is to be proactive rather than reactive. So we get early warning signals. As it says here, forewarned is forearmed. We can put in strategies and minimize our risk. We hope you found this useful. Please subscribe, check out our courses, and check back for a new video soon. Thanks for listening.